I was born in Chipping Norton on the 4th of January 1947. My parents, Eric and Dorothy Stein, owned a farm in Oxfordshire, and I was the fourth of 5 children. The youngest, Henrietta, was my childhood playmate. On the farm and on the beach, we are still incredibly close. John is 6 years older than me. He was idolised by my mother for his good looks and his brilliance at exams. Janie, 9 years older than me, was idolised by both Henrietta and myself for her trendy clothes and cheerful don't-care attitude. She had countless boyfriends, most of whom were disapproved of by our parents. Jeremy is my half-brother, my mother's son from a previous marriage. He is 12 years older than me, and soon after I was born, he went to the Royal Naval College in Dartmouth. After that, Jeremy was away at sea, so I didn't see much of him. He had built a model railway at the bottom of the garden and had large model yachts and other grown-up toys, which I vandalised with clumsy wonder, as most much younger brothers do. My father had a manager, Harry Watson, at the farm, helped by a young woman called Joyce Irwin, who had come to work on the farm as a land girl in the Second World War. My father spent most of the week in London, where he and my mother had a flat in Bloomsbury. My dad ran the family firm, Stein Brothers, whose main business was distilling, with his brother, Rolf. By the time I was born, it had been taken over by the Distillers Company, and in time my father became managing director. The Steins, including my father's sisters, Zoe and Muriel, had connections in North Cornwall, where my father and Rolf built Polventon, an Art Deco house on Trevose Head, where we all spent our summer holidays. Many people thought it was eccentric and experimental in the 1960s and 70s, but today the architecture is much admired, and indeed the house is now listed. On Sunday nights at the farm in Oxfordshire, my dad made tomato and onion soup. It was probably little more than onions, or more likely shallots because he adored them, sliced and softened in butter, to which he'd then add some chopped tomatoes from the garden and simply simmered it all together with stock made from the leftovers of the Sunday roast chicken, with lots of salt and pepper. His soup was so clear you could see the pieces of shallot and tomato in it. No wonder I'm drawn to simple dishes. My father used to say with some pride at Sunday lunch that everything we were eating had come from the farm. Vegetables from the vegetable garden, which was surrounded by sheep netting near the Dutch barn, where he also grew sweet peas. I can't think of those delicate shades of creamy white, pink, blue and mauve, and the sweet fragrance of them, without a sense of comfort. The beef, if not immediately from our own Herefordshire bullocks, would certainly have come from a neighbour's. The pudding too would have been ours. In summer, strawberries from the fruit garden near the house, and cream from the dairy in Chipping Norton, or a blackcurrant or a gooseberry fool. In autumn, an apple charlotte from our apples, or a damson tart from the tree by our house. When I was little, I found my mum's pastry too rich, but now I always use her recipe. It wasn't really delicate, not like the sort of pastries I've relished since in French patisseries. It was a mixture of lard and butter, 5 ounces of each to a pound of flour, but it had a rich crumbliness. She never altered it by putting in sugar for puddings, and I've always found that a nice contrast. I used to scrape out the mixing bowl, but raw pastry doesn't taste as good as it smells, unlike raw sponge mix, which is so Moorish that it's frustrating. My earliest memories of the farm are to do with food. A few years ago I made a television series called Rick Stein's Food Heroes, in which I went round the British Isles and Ireland. There's a whole band of people out there producing small quantities of food with passionate commitment, I wrote, who look after their land properly, treat their flocks or herds with affection and respect, and take their time to grow or rear crops or animals. Only after some time did I stop to think that I was actually writing about our family farm. The farm was 150 acres, down a long yellow bumpy lane just outside Churchill on the road to